first to give us some questions, and I was overwhelmed by the responses. We've got some world champions themselves watching us now, looking for insight from you. They're probably your rivals on the range. And I thank everyone for their questions. I've condensed the 100 or so questions I got into 3, 4, 5 main themed ones. There was a lot of stuff that was similar. So
there's one guy saying that we have to put the pods on. The pods are actually not so far. Over here on the bench, I got them. So, but right now I did already the gym and workout, so now I'm just running. So I'm sorry if I'm just bumpy, guys, but I need to get my run done because in the afternoon I got some workout to do for my wife.
We pretend you're on the range, so the jumping up and down is good. I think a lot of pods have been sold since you put that video up of you training with them. I've also ordered some. So just to get one thing out the way for our South African followers, do you recall your best time shooting the El Presidente?
That was hold on. Best time, there's two things. Best score and best time. I think best time so far, if I'm not mistaken, around 3.5. 3.5, all hits.
All on, yeah.
All around the.
Oh, we've lost Eric a little bit. It's reconnecting.
3.6, 3.7, somewhere around that, like full A's.
Very nice.
But that's once out of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things, repetition, and you just, memorize the timing, memorize the sequence. You also, at some point, try to learn how soon gets the beep, how fast gets the beep out. So you're pretending to start at when you hear it, but actually I'm pretty sure that we all get started slightly earlier than what the beeps comes. So, and
that time makes a difference. Thanks, Eric.
Well, we're talking, 0.1, 0.05 at that speed, at that for 12 rounds. Yeah, that makes a huge difference.
Huge. It's also for listening to the start of that beep and getting used to listening to the beginning of it.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, first question, which is a loaded question in the sense that it's got multiple parts to it, but it's one of the questions that's been recurring from all the viewers. As you recall, World Shoot Florida, you shot in production and you won that match. And then a day later, we both shot the US IPSC Nationals at Frostproof. And you shot that in open division and you won that too. And I physically saw you change gear or press a button and you were in a different dimension, shooting the gun a lot quicker and different tactics because of the scoring. The question is really, can you shoot open division to improve your performance in other divisions, i.e. with iron sights? What is the muscle memory associated with that and switching between divisions? How do you do that?
So let's make it clear. I don't think there is a muscle memory into it. But there's, as you mentioned, there's another dimension. That's actually a topic we discussed already with JJ on another live session. I think you were here.
Yeah,
actually. And if let's talk just result part. If we look at the matches through the IPSC, production shooters are all of them excellent shooters. There's no discussion about it. You need to be accurate to survive in production since we're scoring minor. So we need to hit, we need to score. So that is 100% a quality that you need to achieve. Either you work or either you have it from the very beginning you start your shooting career. But the main thing is when you transfer an open shooter to production, or let's say iron sights in general, we have a tendency to see that 90% of the cases, 95% of the cases, the open shooter classified himself pretty well in the iron sight division, just because he has this ability to switch gears and switch speed easily, let's say, throughout the stages, depending what stage design it is. They can really adapt their shooting speed or overall velocity of the stage running through the stage during the competition. The opposite actually is not really true. You take an iron sight shooter, a pure iron sight shooter that come from standard, classic, whatsoever, you put him into open, he has limits. And that's clearly an issue for let's say, for open division, but also in a certain way, the iron sights division. So yes, being able to train and open and iron sight in the same time has two benefits. The open will bring you speed, bring you to another dimension of what you can, what you cannot. You can see a different way, you can organize your timing different, and you realize that some of the timing that you have in an open gun are not that crazy for an iron sight shooter. Even though a lot of people would say, whoa, yes, you can't shoot that popper, it's so many static before that swinger comes out. Yeah, pretty much yes.
Yeah.
Not that accurate, but pretty much yes. And yeah, so basically training both, let's say, the iron sights and the optic in the same time, 100% beneficial. If you're an iron sight shooter, if you can take about 20 to 25% of your training into optic, fantastic. Same thing on the opposite side. For an open shooter, taking the shots with an iron sight bring you accuracy. So if you can train some iron sights while you're still an open shooter, it also brings you the being patient, placing your sight, actually placing your dot, in our case, onto the target properly, waiting, pulling that shot just right.
Right. So all the technical sides of it stay the same as far as the discipline required to see your dot in the right place and manipulate the trigger correctly without disturbing the gun.
Yeah, correct.
But what you basically said is coming from open division, because you're at the top, at the fastest part of the sport, where it's a lot quicker, coming to iron sights, where you're talking standard classic production, you have an advantage because you're coming a little bit down in speed and you're having to look at a few more things. So there is an advantage shooting open.
I think yes. Honestly, for me, it felt like having shot open before made my life easier to get into production.
Right.
And I'm not sure it's through the opposite way around.
Well, to be honest with you, my experience, and this isn't about me, it's about your experiences. I've experienced that. I left production, went to open for 2.5 years, came back to production, and the speed was just unbelievable. And I've always been guilty of sticking to one division and not training with another because I want to be better at what I'm doing. And I think it's the wrong way to go. So I'm definitely going to be looking at playing with a dot to improve my speed.
You've probably seen and had that feeling that you switched back to production and you were like, wow, I'm shooting slow.
Exactly.
Or you had that feeling of, damn, I'm shooting super slow. And at the end, you look at the timer, you look at the score, and say, oh, that's not that bad.
Exactly.
So it's a weird feeling, great feeling, but weird feeling as well. But it's kind of motivating, I would say.
I like it. I like what you said as well. It sort of confirms what a lot of people are asking and why they're asking. While we're on the subject, what do you do with your gear? Sorry, carry on.
So I was going to say that if you see the past couple of years, I've been switching division back and forth. One time, a couple of open shoots, a lot of production, I would say, because it's right now easier to find 9mm. Lots of open, also standard, not so much because it kicks hard, and I'm not super fan of the 40 cal. But anyway, still shoot some standard matches, also production optic, and you realize that, yeah, it doesn't really matter what you shoot in terms of division, as long as you understand in which zoning you have to fit which zone of type of shooting, which velocity, which speed, which accuracy is required per division, and you enter that zone. If you stay behind because it's your previous division or your previous style of shooting dictates it, then basically, I won't say you're screwed, but it's going to be hard.
Yeah. What do you do with your gear, Eric, when you're swapping divisions? I mean, open, we're allowed to put the mags and gun anywhere we like. Do you keep your gun and mags in the same place?
No, open, I'll have the open mags in the front.
And you move your gun as well?
No, the gun is pretty much the exact same spot for any division I have. Make the life a little bit more simple. But for the magazine, yeah, it's a little bit of an issue for open. I I don't know, maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes just to get used to that placement. But after that, pretty much it's okay.
Right. And I think
Just
I
don't
understand
forget
what
the
you're
first
saying.
one is in front.
Yeah, so the gun is in the same place because it's critical you get a good grip. The mags, we're swiping down and we're feeling where it is. So it's a little bit different moving that mag forward a bit versus moving the gun,
Right.
which changes everything.
But I've seen a couple of times at the very beginning, switching back to open, I went down to the first, let's say, position on the side, like a production or standard for the first reload. And then I was like, damn, the first one is right in the front. So
Right.
okay.
Thank you. That's awesome.
You'll survive.
We got a very good question here that was repeated a few times. What do you know now that you wish you had known when you started shooting? Is there anything in particular you could say that you wish you knew earlier on in your shooting career?
It's a tricky question, I would say. Both answer could go yes and no, in the sense, yes, I would have loved to know that before, but also in the ways that if you get to know all this before, will I last that long in the sport, enjoying it and having fun to it, still searching and trying to find out new solutions. So,
so it's a constant learning process, constant learning.
I would stick to the fact that I've been taught by my dad for years, being strict, military style, wake up 6 o'clock, 6:30, breakfast is done, you go running, do this, do that. So everything was timed. Now I'm more, like, not more or less, but plus minus 5 minutes, you know. So there's a little bit of flexibility into it.
Little bit.
Little bit. But when it comes to shooting, I keep this part where you strict, like super strict, in the sense that there is a protocol which until now, the one I apply, hasn't been defeated, in the sense that even though I screw up personally, which is one thing, the protocol itself repeats and shows exactly how it goes. So if I keep following that protocol, well, necessarily I end up somewhere in the top. There's no, right now, there's no better option that I've found versus that protocol, meaning the time I'm using, calculating the score of people, of my competitors, calculating the hit factors, using strategy in terms of shooting, if I should go for speed or if I should go for accuracy, or if I need to match more or less both. It has been proven to me for years now that this system, no matter what happened, works. Yeah. The only issue with that system is the mental pressure that you can put on yourself. So you will have to deal with, how to say, this pressure that will tell you the truth, in the sense that it's not telling you, like a lot when you get coaches, say, not too bad, it's okay, you'll survive, let's start again, or don't worry, it's only 1 out of 30 stage. Yes, you should worry. A screw up, remain a screw up no matter what. So
right.
It's lost.
Very, very,
it's
very
gone.
Interesting. Exactly.
So
excuse me.
That system also will tell you basically directly to you, if you do the calculation yourself, if you're in the right speed, in the right mode, if you're in the lead, if you're second place, third place, or if you're, sorry for the wording, but a complete fucked up today. So that means it's an information that you have to get, you have to deal with. Now, what would be your reaction? Will you assimilate that information, change your shooting style, or like a standard human reaction, say, damn, bad stage, screw up. Let's turn on a little bit the gas on the next one. Most probably the next one, you do turn on the gas. It's also a crash.
Yep.
More or less, not too big, not too small. Could be a big one, then game over. Yep. If it's a small one, you're like, if I nailed it, that would have been good. Yes. But the main issue is it's that if.
Yeah.
And
And we've all been there. The psychological side of it is incredible. It's massive.
It's massive. And
Massive,
personally,
massive.
that's to me, the best part I like into this game.
And we know you're a master tactician. You break it down into the smallest little bits and analyze everything. And that's why you do your numbers on the range. So you know how to use the tactic you use to get the goal you want to achieve.
Exactly. That's, as I said, it's the protocol. That's the thing. It's which lasts depending how many days, 5 days if it's a world shoot, less if it's another, like a level 3 match. But still, the protocol remains the same. And no matter what you shoot, a local match, or a national, or intercontinental match, the system remains the same. And you cannot tell that system, small match, I'll take it easy. No, it doesn't work this way.
Exactly right.
A small match has the same exact value than a world shoot. So if you're able to tell yourself, I'll take it easy right now, then it's the first step for losing already. So it doesn't matter what style or what type of match you're shooting. It remains the same aspect, the same mental approach that you must have throughout the competition, from the stage 1 till the last stage. You must not necessarily give your best, but give everything you have to ensure you win.
So you're running that program regardless if it's a level 1 or a level 5. You keep running the same program. Maybe you don't put the same effort in because it's a practice match or whatever, but you've got to keep consistent with your program.
Wrong. Same effort.
Same.
So it's worse. It's worse for the people on the local match, because if you start playing with the mine and they are not ready, it's like destroying. So I try to go away from that part of the game.
We don't play mind games. Never.
But no, it has to be exactly the same, because otherwise, how can you detect if you fail during the world shoot? If you start having some few differences in your protocol, your protocol has to remain the exact same way, no matter what competition, a small one or a bigger one.
Yep, agreed. And you see the change in people's attitudes depending on the level of the match, and they don't do well most of the time. You've got to maintain that. I agree.
Right.
Very good advice. Eric, another question we had, we've got a lot of people in isolation and they're struggling with dry fire, and a lot of people have confined spaces. So one of the recurring questions was, what would be your best recommendation for anybody that is limited with resources and space for training? You know, limited ammo, limited space. What would you look at them? What would you say to focus on? Generally?
Space, if you remember the range I used to have before, the very little, even we can say shitty one I used to have.
Hey, it raised the world champion. It raised the world champion.
But how big was that?
It was tiny.
Not big. That was tiny. Potentially, we could say 3 bays, but that's not even, for those who've been in the world shoot in France, for example, or let's say in Australasia, in the Philippines, we're talking about a medium-sized bay. My range for 3 bays, like a tiny bay, which was like 6-7 meters wide, about 8 long, and then a 25 by 10.
With the river on the left.
And then that long range, like 50-yard range, but like was, again, 6-7 meters wide and a 50-meter long. That's it. So in terms of space, you don't need that much. What is critical is more the, how to say, ideas that you can have for your training. A lot of people are going to the range. They said, okay, today I'll work this. Next time I work that. And then something else next time. And at the end, they end up like, I already did my rotation on the techniques or whatever I wanted to work with. And how to say, the main issue is the repetition that people are putting into the exercise gets boring. And same thing as I discussed with JJ, it's a topic that lots of people don't like to hear. But if you just keep repeating the same stage over and over, like people are training this way, you're just building a memory, a muscle memory, a mental memory of a situation that you created, which has most likely less than 0.1%, maybe even less than that, to being reproduced in a competition. So basically, you're training something that you will never see in a match, unless the technique that will remain the same, yes. But the technique, you keep it on the same circle, so on the same speed, on the same movement, on the same.
Right.
So
that's why you change. That's why you change everything when you train. And even if you're doing a cadence shoot up and down the line, you starting hands surrender, hands clasped, hands unloaded, gun, kneeling, prone. You change it every single time. Yeah.
Exactly. So you change the whole whatever. Could be the stance, like it could be your the target order. You change everything. So all the time you have a different sequence. Even though it's a minimum difference, it has to be different, because the first thing it does, it makes you think. It makes you think on your conscious level that, okay, now it's this game. No screw up, stay focused.
Yeah.
You fuck it up, keep on going. Next exercise, don't do it again. In a match, you have a screw up. You don't have the arrow, hey, let me shoot once more. Here my footwork was not that good, here I could have been faster. No, it doesn't happen. You have to live with it. So the best scenario is to actually learn this from your training, because what you want is that you make a fuck up during your training. At the end, it's you tell yourself, all right, that last run was not so good. Let's try to make it better. Not the best, just better is good enough.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
So yes, so the pods, for example, back to the pod system, which is in a dry fire, it's hard to have this random exercises, because you're in a smaller area. You're finding difficulties because of the shooting. There's no real shooting order. Most likely we use only one target, two targets, but basically they are the same, more or less distance, or same angle, same. So the pods is actually easy, because that program runs randomly for you.
Yes.
So you just have to decide what you want to do, click the button, boom, it's one sequence. Couple of second break, boom, start it again, new sequence. You still work the exact same exercise, but because it comes random, that's it.
It changes a lot of things, and I'm excited for the pods to arrive, because it's going to make my dry fire more exciting, and dry fire can be so boring, so it's a good thing.
My son enjoyed it because he didn't tell me, but so you can set also sequence by yourself. So he was playing with the phone, and so he was complaining that I was running too slow, blah, blah, blah. So I was trying to put effort into it. So, because as soon as he's coaching, let's say he calls the exercise, he's the coach. No matter what he says, I'm happy or not happy about what he says. He's right or he's not right. I have to deal with what he's asking.
Exactly.
So it's even though it's my son, and this freaking bastard, sorry for the word, it's my son, I know, but to a specific sequence. And he did me do a prone, stand, prone, knee, prone, low knee, prone, crouch. So I went 5 times on the prone. I tell you, number 4 and number 5, stand up, were disaster. I was roasted.
Hey, look, it serves you right for making me do that when we trained. I think I couldn't get on the airplane because of going prone every 5 seconds.
So
I'm glad you experienced it.
I said, what's that sequence? I know, I changed a little bit. Yeah, thank you, appreciate that.
You know, because of you, I make my students go down with 10 rounds in Australia. We do 10 rounds, start, shoot a popper, go prone, shoot a popper, get up, shoot a popper until the mag's empty. And it's really good exercise for training prone and being safe when you go down, not injuring yourself. But yeah, your little guy is really good there. I like that.
So there's actually a good question of, I see Christian saying, how did you get so fast? So unfortunately, there's 2 speeds. There's the shooting speed, the moving speed. So luckily, I managed to go very early in the US and also in the Philippines, where those two countries have a really aggressive style of shooting. So they are very dynamic, very explosive. So this I've learned by going there, competing when I was 16, 17, 18, and of course get beaten hard, but said, okay, that's the key. Clearly, I need to focus on being more explosive. Of course, you need to handle your cardio and be able to, not, of course, not run a marathon, but the fact that your cardio is trained, that means that you can actually slow down your heart, increase your heart speed very quick. Fine, but that doesn't bring explosivity. So you work on your explosivity. It's one thing. At the gym, at the range, using the pods, using cones, using whatsoever, short and back force, long sessions, shorter rest, and deal with it. Then we did the shooting. The shooting part is a nightmare. If you do remember, but when we start shooting on the velocity, one of the main issues you had is when I placed a panel of targets, something like 6, 7, 8 targets in front of you, and you need to shoot those 16 rounds. So first thing, try to get the cadence in, increase the velocity between the shot without double tapping. So which is how to say, not easy, because tendency is to go pop, have a huge break, pop, and then another huge break, and then pop, and then you realize that you're like 1.5 to 2 seconds behind the guy that shoots toof all the time, you know, like
consistency is better.
Consistent.
Cadence. Yeah.
Exactly. That means you split between the two shots, and the split between second and first are consistently the same. And so this was the hard thing. And then we switch gear. When I told you, okay, now we're going to go for 6 mags in a row. So I remember that. So it's a lot of bullets.
It's lots of bullets.
Unfortunately, training this to get your finger working, riding, there's not much you can do unless shooting. And a lot of people will say, yes, it's spend the bullets, shoot them. Yeah, shoot them. That's true. It's not a waste in some ways. It could be considered that you have supposed to go to the range, you're late. You said, I have only 30 minutes. Well, that exercise, 500 rounds take like 20 minutes. But you did the job. It's not fun.
Exactly.
Honestly, I didn't like it at all. But when I was in the US, you get to see, I think JJ was on the right, and JJ has never been the fastest one on the split. But you take example of Max Michel, Casey Eusebio.
Yep.
Those guys are just like nuts. They go, it's like, whoa, what the hell? And you feel like you're like, tack, 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 and you're at your maximum speed. He said, we need to change that. You need probably impossible to beat those guys. Fine, but you have to get closer, because right now it costs too much.
Yeah.
So it took me a lot of time.
At that level, absolutely. But I think too many of the amateur shooters focus on splits, and they overlook transition times, which is really the low-hanging fruit.
If you can't run like that, start now.
If you watch,
there's still half an hour to go, guys. So it's.
Are you reading the message?
I'm still gonna run. Yeah. So okay. There's still half an hour for me to run, pretty much.
Fantastic. We'll take the time we can get from you. Okay, I've got another question for you, Eric. And this is from a world champion shooter. And what do you do to gain points against your competitors when you are slightly behind? Do you go faster, or do you shoot on the move more? What do you do to catch up those points?
It's a long shot strategy. You have to specify more the situation where we are. Last stage, first stage. Already the situation changes. Point one.
It's a massive story.
Point two. Hold on, I'll show you this guy. He's at the gym, but dry fire is not lost for everyone. So he set up his mat, his everything, and he's doing his work.
Fantastic.
So
Good coach.
yeah, good coach. I'm pretty sure what he's doing is actually thinking or preparing some exercise that he
Coming
wants
for
me to
you.
do.
Yeah, I think he's tougher
So
than Gigi. He's tougher
so
than Gigi.
he's testing the things out to see if it's hard enough for him. If it's hard enough, he would say yes, good. That's it. That's what we're doing today.
Very good.
That's what I'm worried about that. All right, so the situation already is the first thing. You can't take a decision like this if you speed up too early and the stage design is not made for you. Your chances of crash are too big. So why would you go there? No reason. Now you have to also know the profile of your competitor. Is this competitor accurate? Is he fast? Is he consistent? So that you can estimate what's coming in the next future stages, and if there are a potential, let's say, risk of damage for him that you can wait for. You can also detect that if is he in the perfect day, which happens sometimes, in the sense that I've seen some of my competitors, which are, I don't know, 4, 5, 6% behind me here in Europe, more or less average, and that day is either with me or in the squad in front or behind or whatsoever, so I'm tracking him, and that day is just like untouchable. So
yeah,
he's having that perfect day. Now, what are the chances that that perfect day will re-happen tomorrow? First question, most likely, from what I've seen, never. So far.
yeah.
So
Oh, goodness.
that means my protocol so far, based on experience, will say, stand by. Don't try anything. Wait, stay as close as possible, but don't even try to go get him.
No
because
risk.
it's not gonna work. Apparently, it's not gonna work that day. So just stand by. Now, if you are last day, last few stages, you're behind. Well, guess what? In the sport, there is only first place that matters. Second, third, fourth, fifth, they are always whatsoever, but they are not first. So in that case, yes, you will have to work. Start looking at some places where you can actually try to gain couple points here, and that's it. And now, if you use my protocol, or if I use my system, I know already, let's say, basically 2 or 3 stages before the end, if I lose or if I win. So that means mentally you're already preparing yourself to the defeat or the success.
Right. Because it's run its course now. There's not much you can do from that point on.
It's based on the experience and based on the stats. It's mathematical. So the math, pretty much, there's not much of change in the process, in the calculation. So unless, once again, one instant of I'd say, being brilliant or being defeated, so where it's a big crash, but that's it.
Yeah, I get you. So basically the answer to the question is it depends on where you are in the match. Are you at the beginning, day one, or you're at the last 3 stages? And this is why it's so important for you to know where you're at points-wise.
The situation dictates so that you can make a proper call. Why would you take a risk if you don't have to? Why would you not take the risk if you have to? Because once again, everyone, no matter which level you are, you fix yourself a goal, which is what you want to win. If that goal is achievable, necessarily you want it, you want to take it. So you need to know what's going to happen, what are the potential outcomes based on this, based on that, and based on the information before. So it's really a risk management that I am running through my own shooting.
And you know your levels and you know your limits and you know what you can do on a stage, which is it's important.
Correct.
Part of that mathematical equation.
But be aware, that's like everyone. I'm scared like everyone going to the stage, even though that could be in the lead or not in the lead, or this or that. My competitor shoots a might no shoot on the stage, on a hard target, partial one, like, I don't know, 15 yards, there's also a risk for me to shoot that might no shoot. So I'm also scared, like everyone.
Yeah.
The only thing is, it's to take your time, be patient. If you have to lose time, don't try to win the 25 point that the guy just dropped in front of you or offered you on the plate, let's say, or offered you if it's not the plate, but just as an offer
for free,
and try to go for take 15. So that means you invest so much time in aiming that target to guarantee you get the 2 hits, but you don't get the might no shoot, right? So you're losing time, but you're still collecting the points. So instead of the 25, you take 15. That's fairly good enough already.
Good return.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, if you can,
good.
of course, if you can take the 25, take the 25, 100%, because then you have the I'd say the mental advantage on your competitor, because then he's the one running after you, and which is no good.
Very, very important. Yeah. Thanks, Eric. There's a question here that was asked a few times as well, and it's about how you prepare for a big match. What numbers of rounds are you shooting? What are you doing? How many times a day? You have your maintenance shooting when there's no matches coming, and you have your training when you're about to shoot a big match. What's your procedure there?
So half season, winter time, I would say 250 rounds, 300 once every 2 days, 6 days a week. That's a standard thing. So about 2 to 3 times a week, I'm going to the range. Then you have the during the season, so not the major matches, but during the season, it's normally 500 rounds a day. So it takes about an hour and a half, depending what I'm shooting, to run those 500, and 5 to 6 days a week, same thing.
Wow.
So that's on the shooting side. In the season, same thing. Going to the gym, pretty much 1 hour every day, switching from cardio to gym.
Yep.
1 day cardio, 1 day gym, 1 day cardio, 1 day gym, 6 days a week, 1 day rest. Even though I feel now I'm kind of drug addicted to it, so it's like I'm going there every day. And then major matches, the prep starts about 4 weeks before, the real prep for it. The conditioning, we can say.
Yeah.
Conditioning consists of 2 live sessions per day, or a huge one, but the same amount of rounds per day. Close to 15, at least 1,500, if not 2,000 a day. And that for 4 weeks nonstop. And that's every single day. So if you take...
So it's amazing. It becomes like breathing. Shooting just becomes like breathing.
If you take a month's prep for, like the World Shoot, it was slightly less. We got some issues, but I was about 35 to 40,000 just before the World Shoot in France, to give you an example. And Florida was the same. I was on the range when I was there like 2 weeks before. I was going to the practice range every day, and I was doing like 1,200 a day, something like that, for like 2 weeks before the match.
Yeah.
So your hands hurts, your feeling hurts, your body hurts, and everything. So you shoot until 2 days before the match. Then the 2 days before the match, stop everything. Do nothing, relax, do things with the family, nothing about shooting. You can barely see, you watch the gun, but I think I don't even touch the gun at that point for 2 days. And then that fluid comes into your body saying like, damn,
I want to shoot.
Hours that shooting. It's like, my hands wants to shoot. They are painful, but it wants to shoot. And the second day is the worst. It's the opening ceremony. And it's like, let's get to shoot. Let's go to the range, see if I check the zero of the gun. No, you don't even go. The zero was done already. So basically.
So trust your training, trust your equipment. You've done the work. It's time to
anyway, it's
relax.
done. It's already,
Yeah,
it's
it's
done.
done.
So there's not much you can do anymore. But that, what we call that juice that builds up into you, get you the feeling that, whew, I need to go.
Yeah.
Give me a
I need
beep.
to shoot.
Give me a stage. Give me something. I need to go. And
Right.
that's most likely the best moment, because when the first briefing starts, I freak out. That's like the heart goes. The feelings, you get all the people watching, you got the super squad with you, and I was like, whew, we're doing it one more time, again, putting yourself in danger, putting yourself in pressure for 1 week, and that's terrible. That's pain.
So you turn it on and off when you need it.
Right.
How do you look at that first stage at a major match? Are you reserved? You pull back 20%? Are you conscious of what you're doing? Or you're just like, I'm seeing my sights, I'm shooting alphas?
It's a good question. It's same thing. I think we talked about it with JJ the other day. It's protocol in Europe. It's like, stage 1, let's go easy, relax, do your first stage, get on. The
Build
second
our
one
confidence.
slightly faster. Yeah, exactly. Start, I don't know, 75, 80%, and then second one 90%, and by third, fourth stage, you're up to speed. That's very European style. And 98, 99, 2000, I was in the US, and I was using that protocol. And in US, in the Philippines as well, actually. Those guys are crazy. It's 100% right away, stage 1.
First shot.
Die or live. So, and I was like, damn, first stage, I'm already like 30 points behind the first leader, who's most likely not going to win the match. Doesn't matter. But that guy took me 30 points on stage 1.
I'm behind.
One.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, he can take me points, but not 30 points. So I'm 20% behind. What does it mean?
What's going on here? Yeah.
So, so I had to change that thing to really get myself into speed. I tried to be as close as possible to the 100% of capacity right away. You have no choice. Especially also the new generation will be in this mode. So this is, I would say, 90s style, 2000 style. This is over. Now today, it's you have to be right on.
You got to be there
Plus
and be on the
minus-
money. Yeah.
Plus minus 5%, but you can't be 20% behind on stage 1. Doesn't work.
Right.
Otherwise,
And we're
it's too
not
much work.
And just to let everybody know, we're not talking about being the world champion or winning overall. This could be in your class, in your division, in your grade.
No matter what.
It doesn't, yourself competing against yourself. It doesn't really matter. It's the same for everybody.
Because what you're doing by doing this is that you give away 20% to your competitor, no matter which level you are.
Exactly.
So, and if the guy has been trained to run right away at 100%, that's it. So that's also what changed my training system, in the sense that I don't reproduce twice the same exercise. It means that my first exercise at the range in training, I shoot it only once. So I have to do it right. Otherwise, it sucks, and my personal feeling get hurt. So I need to be there right away.
Yeah. And I think that's a mistake a lot of us make. We keep doing that exercise the same way until we feel good about it, and we walk away saying, hey, this is great, I can do it, but we can't produce it cold ball. We can't produce it when we need it. On demand, exactly.
On demand. You need now, I want it now, do it. And you can't. You're like, you froze.
Yeah. So you need to condition that in your training to be able to produce the goods on demand when you flick that switch.
Well, let's say the good on demand is the good enough, I would call it. That's what I used to say to my people when I teach, because the good is also only one sector of what is potentially acceptable at that moment. So the good enough is good. I mean, that you're making a couple of mistakes, fine, no big deal. As long as you're in the range of all the other guys, either you win, either you're second, top 5, but you within 5,
within
6%.
that band, exactly.
Exactly.
Very good. Very interesting stuff, Eric. Thank you. How much longer you got on that treadmill?
Well, somewhere like 15.
Okay, you're still all right to talk to us? You got oxygen in your body?
Ooh. Yeah, you know what? I'm a lazy guy. Usually
Yeah,
when I go
right.
running with my dogs and everything, yesterday I had a friend of mine, an instructor, call me during the run outside, and we were in Visio, so it was like, damn, you're still running, and I was going uphill, downhill. So today I said, okay, I'm gonna go on the treadmill, which means easier, my breath will be pretty much standard all the way through. Like yesterday I was going uphill, I was
All right. I
dying,
thought
but
that's how we were going to do this interview. You were going to be out on the street running, but I'm glad you're on your treadmill.
well, we still have this kilometer circle outside of home you can go, so it's not, I mean, I'm running always the same, let's say, parkour I have, which
Right.
is at some point boring. Good for the dogs. For my two dogs, they are happy, but there's a limit to it. I see always the same people, same faces, same ground. Ah.
Okay, I just want to say a happy birthday to one of your followers from Puerto Rico. She was very excited to watch this, and the Puerto Rican fans are watching us as well. Puerto Rico, sorry, they're watching us, which is great. Eric, just a bit of general chat, and I know it's a massive, massive topic, but we have guns manufactured now. We have different grips we can use, but we also have very big differences in hands. And with your discussion with JJ, you talked quite extensively about having small hands, and you changed and modified your grip. Now, without having to go into too much detail, what advice would you give people with smaller hands, um, um, to get a better grip on the gun?
Well, the bit of grip is, I'd say, it's a long,
Yeah, you
long
can borrow
topic,
this one. It's
as I
massive, I
said.
know.
But the first thing is the good grip. No matter which grip or which forces or which strength you use on your gun, all techniques agrees to say that you need to be as high as possible on your gun. So that means you need to be exactly really high underneath the beaver tail. Basically, your skins flips over the beaver tails almost.
Like
The
that.
thumb goes exactly. Your thumb, you want your thumb on the safety as high as possible. You will need your palm, the back palm, really nicely in contact, not deep in because I don't squeeze, but really in contact with the back part. Whatever the
With the
side
back
is,
strap.
with back strap.
Yeah.
Whatever the side is, for me, doesn't really matter because we are not a vice. We're not made to produce any strengths left and right onto the gun. So whatever we're doing, for me, it's a loss of energy. It's a loss of energy, sorry. It's
So you're talking about squeezing on the sides of the grip panels. For you, that's a waste
for
of
me,
energy.
that's for me useless actually. You
Right.
do it indirectly with my technique, but you don't do it on purpose, which means that you're not using your forearms to compress or to connect any energy sideways. A lot of people, if we go back to this, based on the volume I shoot, which is huge, I shot several million rounds. So far, I have no tennis elbow issues, nothing. I've been reloading. I reload mostly all my rounds, and I shoot a lot, and I have no issue in my arms. When lots of top shooters who are physically fit, who have muscles which are really well developed, they end up with tennis elbows.
Yeah.
And most likely, all these guys are squeezing the guns.
Yeah.
So you just can ask yourself, is squeezing a good method? I would say yes, it holds the gun, 100%. No discussion about it. On the long term, on the body construction, on your, physical respect of your body, is it the correct way? To me, it's not.
It's going to hurt.
It's going to hurt.
Yeah.
No matter what. So, and more or less depending which gun you shoot. I mean, as long as you shoot 9mm, you're okay, pretty much. But you start shooting 40 is a disaster caliber. It breaks everything. We all know it breaks everything on the gun, no matter which gun. It breaks.
Sights,
But
everything.
if it breaks the gun, your arms are right behind. What do you see?
That's
It does
correct.
to your hands, to your arms, to your shoulder. It hurts. Brent, that's it.
So gripping
So,
the gun in the correct manner changes, if you're not exerting that energy trying to squeeze the gun sideways like that, you're
right,
not going to look at hurting your body as much as you would.
correct. You can reverse it to the same theory that when people are changing sights, rear sight or front sight, so most likely you put your gun into a vise, right? Now, when they let's take the front sight example with a slot forward and backward, okay, in the axis of the barrel. So what does the people? They place the slide into the vise, which is the vise is like here. The slide is going this way, right?
Right.
And they start pam, 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 pop it out, or pushing in the front side. But what happened, even though you compress super, super, super hard the slide, right? What happened with your hit? The slide moves a little bit.
It still moves.
It still moves. So already it tells you, whatever you do sideways here, like nuts with your muscle, you're not going to be strong enough to hold all the shots, to stop it, or control all the shots all the way through.
Yep. Makes perfect sense. So if you've got it in the vise like that, and you're hitting it that way, it's going to move.
So you're going to scratch, exactly, and you're going to scratch.
And that's the analogy. That's the analogy you're using with pressuring on the sides, and the gun's still going to want to rock on that axis like that. Right.
Correct. So we do that. The second hand, in the same theory, will go as high as possible. A lot of people are asking me, yeah, but you have your 3+1 finger when most of the people are using the 4 fingers.
4.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't change. I've been using the 4 fingers before. I changed to 3+1. Honestly, I call it, when I teach shooter preference. As long as you feel comfortable, that's what matters.
Correct.
But you want to be the same theory. You want to be as high as possible onto your gun. So as close as possible to the slide movement without affecting the slide. I mean, without having your thumb touching the slide and so on. But very strong on the top. Okay. And basically, I'm using a Weaver style system, like a push-pull, which of course, a lot of my people have a hard time switching because it's a hold style, but it's not, I believe, not wrong, because the axis of the forces are back in front, and I can place that force back in front onto the gun.
So your front strap and your back strap are the most important surfaces to grip your gun.
Correct.
Basically.
The sides also are important in the sense that they guarantee the placement of your hand, right? But this is not where you place the maximum of the force or most of the force. Force goes in the front and in the back. Basically, the back is used to control the recoil when the gun is opening and cycling to eject the brass, while the front is used when the gun closes. So when the gun goes back in the front.
Right. So you're just equalizing that push-pull somewhere in the middle at your full extension, so it's comfortable. It has
to be equalized. No matter what you do, whatever forces we apply on the gun, even then if you squeeze, doing this movement as a squeeze, you equalize both sides. You have like the same amount of force left and right. It doesn't mean that you have the same amount of force per arm, right? Because each arm has a different potential development of force. So maybe, I don't know, the 100% power you need on the right side is maybe only 50% of your strong arm. While the second 100% on the other side to maintain the gun stable is maybe 70%, 75% of your weak arm. So that everyone is different, has to be working on it. But to me, the force, the energy to be placed back and front, barely nothing on the sides, useless. The day you need the sides, it's because your gun is blowing up from a double charge or a bullet into your barrel. So that's going to be one round. So
you want the sides, right?
No, but that's going to be one round.
One round. So the truth of the matter is, we start looking at very successful shooters like Maria, and we compare them to you or any other male shooter that's obviously got a lot more strength. She's obviously not holding the gun as tight as you are, but she's still a very successful winning champion shooter. So that proves that it's not all about grip strength, raw strength.
No.
It's about technique.
And she's not squeezing like nuts. If you look at her forearm, when you look at her arms when she shoots, you see the forearm, you see a little bit of the muscles, but they're not popping out like crazy here, where you can imagine that she's squeezing like nuts. Mm-hmm. She's most likely not squeezing too hard, too strong on the gun. That's almost for sure.
But the technical side of how to grip the gun is perfectly correct. Hence, she gets the sight tracking, the consistency, and she can have her follow-up shots.
Yeah, and you see the speed she shoots. She shoots fast.
Yep.
So that means her system, whatever technique she uses, is first consistent. Second, it's powerful, because based on her height, her body construction, and as you said, she can't be as strong as a male, even though she's a strong girl. She can't develop as much as a male. So she has to be able to manage all the power of this gun properly, and she does it. So necessarily there's something here. Correct.
Agreed. And it proves the point of the grip being not necessarily about brutal strength. And yet there's two sides to this. A lot of people are coaching, just hold it as hard as you can. And then people lose dexterity in their trigger finger. It becomes a bit nasty.
Do you think double tap is worth it?